yeah, gets up a little early there.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I really think the big thing for Mango in this matchup, and where I can see Toph actually helping, is how.
Oh, careful! Oh, he burned him!
Oh my god, just missed it.
And honestly, Tipper, like, because it's got so much shield tonight, oh, Mango might
That
die.
was
Yeah.
power shields.
No, I feel like Zane's just not giving Mango what Mango wants. And not really respecting Zane.
Let's him here. Doesn't counter, tries to laser follow up. Dash back.
I'm worried about that up
Single
to
hit.
Oh, 80. I'm trying to think of like a thing that I can say for 80. Oh, the DI! Oh, no.
Counter.
Ah!
Okay, give me your thoughts. I feel like shit. I don't know what to say.
Welcome to Fourside Fights featuring The Cheat, Edwin Budding, Bbatts, and Toph. Since it's a Fourside, I'm Jackzilla, and I know, number one, FlyQuest's own Bwippo is right. It only takes 15 games to win Worlds. He's beaten the best teams 15 times in total. Why not 15 in a row? Number two, I am considering Blur's hosting of the Zain Mango show match a win for Fourside Nation, who have relentlessly bullied the Blur for being a pundit and not an organizer for years. Number three, Matcha Cup with respect. Thank you for hiring me, but we gotta pay staff in something other than crypto. And number four, John Fisher and the MLB owners and commissioner better pray that God is real and can absolve them of what they've done to the Oakland A's by moving them to Sacramento Minor League Park while they wait for the concept of a Vegas ballpark to manifest. The move to Vegas alone is an insult and a tragedy. The move to Sacramento while they wait has no advantage other than making the people of Oakland suffer. Let's go to each side. Fuck John Fisher, The Cheat.
Yeah, we actually saw a similar situation in Phoenix where the Coyotes moved to 5,000-seat Mullet Arena, and it was an absolute disaster. Fuck John Fisher for real. Fuck Las Vegas and fuck Utah.
All right, Edwin Budding.
I hate all sports owners, so fuck John Fisher.
Okay, Bbatts.
I hate all sports, so fuck John Fisher.
Toph.
I don't know much about John Fisher, but I don't respect people who are Fishers in general.
Interesting. That's a bold take. That sounds like a San Francisco Giants fan trying to hide behind a bit. That's cool. That's cool. Let's see what we got. Welcome to Fourside Fights. We've got four outstanding guests today who are going to act as pundits as I throw topic after topic at them. They'll give their takes. If they're entertaining or interesting, I'll give them points. If they're boring, repetitive, or patently unreasonable, I'll subtract. And of course, I can mute any contestant at any time for any reason. The player with the most points at the end is our winner. They get to commentate the three losers as they take it to Fourside in a free-for-all to see exactly how their punditry translates to Melee. Let's get started with our first topic, Riptide 2024. It clocked in at 2,700 attendees across 16 events, including 601 Melee entrants. Zain won, defeating Moff, Meds, Hungrybox, Cody Schwab, Aklo, and then Cody again. Notably, Moff, Meds, and Aklo all took Zain to game 5, while Cody and Juan took one game from him in between 10 tries. Between the two of them. While this is a good win, is Zain still vulnerable to some old demons? The Ice Climbers, the Marth Ditto, and maybe a new demon, Aklo's Link? What do we think? Anybody could start.
I'll start. Yeah, so let me begin with saying that I think there's one particular there's one particular demon who was not at Riptide and who every time he's not at a tournament, Zain happens to win it. And that's obviously Amsa. So I feel like it's almost like it's not even worth comparing everyone else to him, because that is like Zayn's typical obstacle. It's just that his obstacle is gate kept by geography.
Sort of his Morgoth, and we're talking some Balrogs and Sauron here when we really should be focusing on the big Satan. Toph?
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially at that level, like I just don't think going to game 5 really means anything. Like there's some matchups, like I could see Link being like this. I don't know that much about the Marth perspective, but there's definitely matchups where it's like you're okay losing on your opponent's counterpick stages. It doesn't like mean anything. It doesn't necessarily mean in a vacuum that like, oh, you're like super vulnerable to this person. Like there's definitely matchups for myself. There's been people who I've had rivalries with where I beat them almost every time, but it always goes to game 5. And it just kind of works out that way sometimes in some matchups with the way stages are. So I just wouldn't read into that too much.
Yeah, I personally think that like the thing with the Link especially is it's not the first time, right? He's played the Link he's played the Link multiple times before. This is the first time that the Link has gotten like really close, but it's not like he was caught off guard and this is the first set they played and we can expect this to be the norm. You know, the norm between these sets.
It sounds like the Link is getting better then. Bbatts?
What do you call it? I'm gonna be straight up here. No, it's not. Okay, he drops games 1 and 2. He gets gimmicked. He gets cheesed. It's fucking Link. Are we gonna pretend like that character is even slightly okay? You can watch Zane's face at the end of game 2, where he's just like, because he knows he's gonna reverse 3-0. Like he knows he's gonna win, but he has to pretend like this character on the screen's fucking real. And then he just wins. He goes game 5 versus everyone, but he just beats
we had
them
episodes
all.
of Fourside Fights like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, saying that same kind of shit about DK, and here we are.
But what do you call Link doesn't have Junebug. If Link gets Junebug, Link will be top 10.
Well,
Link
has
Junebug Link is better than
I don't
Aklo
really
Link?
know. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, Aklo's
Fox
pretty.
is better than Aklo Fox.
Aklo's pretty good. Let's Aklo's like definitely a
Go
top
down a
10
little
player.
bit.
I think Link and Donkey Kong are very, very, very different characters, mind you. I think they're like actually like I kind of conceptualize them as extreme sort of polar opposites, where DK is kind of like struggles in neutral, but kills you. And Link doesn't really kill you, but his neutral's like pretty, obnoxious. So they're honestly pretty different. Like if you're getting gimmicked by Link, it looks pretty different to getting gimmicked by DK. Just to throw that out there.
I'm not worried about the Link. What I saw from the most part for Riptide, and I said it on commentary, is that the big dog is back. And Zain, when it mattered on Sunday, steamrolled through everyone. And these, blips on the radar that we're talking about are just games taken in a set, which we know don't really matter that much. And they were on Saturday of Riptide, which might be the most grueling day that the Melee community has to offer. You play your entire singles bracket, up to top 16 on that day, no matter what.
Brutal.
So I'm not worried about it for Zain. What I would like to talk about, and thank you for giving me the opportunity again to talk about Meds and shoehorn him into a conversation here.
That's right.
Because he's the second best Fox against Marth in the world right now. It's Cody Schwab and then it's Meds. He is a fucking demon in that matchup.
I give it to Sunsei, but yeah, Meds is top. Let's say top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Mikey, you put Meds in that first to 10 against Zain. How many games does Meds take?
I think he takes 3.
Yeah, I could see Meds taking
He
like
took
3 or 4.
2.
I think Sunsei takes more.
Yeah, why not?
I think Sunsei takes more than that though. But anyway, that's just me.
Damn, we're having the wrong show matches. We'll get to that later. Also at Riptide, let's move on to our next topic. Hungrybox and Plup, the team that spurred Edwin Budding here to put a bounty on their heads that was eventually retracted, lost to 2 teams. Jmook and Cody on winner's side, and Polish and Free Palestine in losers finals. These 2 sets, which shook the foundation of one of the strongest doubles teams of all time, are rocking roughly 1.2K views on YouTube between them. Is this an example of a narrative that failed to take hold despite our best attempts to push it? Was all of Edwin's hyping of Plupbox ultimately worthless?
I'll say it right now. I noticed that Edwin Budding, with his woke elitist East Coast mindset, takes away the prize pool. The second icons of the Midwest of real America, Polish and Free Palestine, end up beating the 2 goats.
That's
so
right.
I don't understand how we came to this conclusion. I would love to understand how we ended up here.
Here, let me explain what I think, and I'll just get the answer out of the way. I think it was a total waste of time. I failed to get Plupbox invested to the point where they did not enter one whole tournament together in the year since I started the bounty. And the worst thing is, like, I don't think that people didn't notice. Everyone talked about it. It was a really big deal. I put a $1,000 bounty on a team that hadn't lost in years. And the main problem is it didn't have buy-in from the team involved. It had buy-in from all the opposition, but the main team involved just like stopped going to things.
Do you wait? I want to challenge that. Do you honestly believe Cody and Jmook knew your bet existed at any point?
Yes, they did. Cody would bring it up to me constantly.
Cody is a bit of a he's
oh,
a
he's the
Fourside
kind of guy
fan.
that
he's abreast of the
He's
news.
online.
Plup
Abreast of the news.
freed me from the contract. I told them about the contract, and I said I can only let go of it if you free me like I'm Dobby. I'm your house elf. And he said, no, you don't have to do it. Go be free. Be free. And he didn't enter an event for another like 5 months in doubles.
Wait,
It's
so you
not that nobody cared. It's that the people that I was trying to incentivize, like all of them were actually in except for the targets. The targets were not in. And keep in mind, I had that bounty set up to where even if nobody beat them for 3 events, they were gonna win the money. So
Yeah.
Plup basically said no to it.
Did
So-
Plup know about it though? I feel like Plup is the kind of person that might not, is he is he staying abreast of the news? I'm not so sure.
I think he did because HBox knew it. Now, if HBox did
you
not
think
communicate,
You think HBox is abreast of the news?
But see,
HBox wanted to do
Xbox is
it.
incredibly online.
Yeah, he was-
yeah, but
he
it's
was down.
wait. Let's
He's online on
because
influencer
HBox is
online.
online, but HBox's like onlineness is very orthogonal to the rest of.
He's in the
Us,
astral
right?
plane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm never
No,
sure if Hungry
I
Box like what
disagree.
he's abreast of. He learns
No.
of things way later than normal people.
No, I'm gonna be
Xbox
real here. Anything involving you don't think he's name searching? You
I
don't
hate
think
to-
you don't
you're
think he
right,
has
Billy.
quotations
I hate-
and quote
hate-
search?
I hate to blow up one spot, but if you ever saw him at Summit, he was in 2 modes. He was in I'm on stream mode or I'm reading stream chat mode.
Oh.
No, and I'll tell you, for any amount of money, Hungrybox will do anything. I witnessed that man in my hotel room at 2 a.m. after a noise complaint pop off on a $100 money match. And after he won it, I think it was Faust from Toronto looks at Juan and goes, "Dude, you're a millionaire. Why are you popping off?" And Juan looks at him dead in
He
the
lives
eyes.
for this shit.
No, he looks at him dead in the eyes and goes, "It's about the principle." And
How long?
to me,
How long was the set?
it was game 5 in Smash Ultimate in like Puff insert Smash Ultimate bullshit character. That's not
Okay,
Puff.
so he's making like $300 an hour at that pace. So that might be worth a pop off.
You
Well,
ever
well-
seen the whole thing?
Well,
Jeff
maybe it's
Bezos
not
will
the
pick
money
your wallet?
involved. maybe it's the feeling of knowing that nobody could
Yeah.
collect on him, right? That-
Michael
that he
Jordan
would've
was addicted
remembered.
to gambling, you know?
And being mean.
Yeah, that's true for sure.
So to end all this, we rag on doubles so much on this show, but they just give us so much to rag upon. Is there any
Well, the thing
hope?
is, people cared. It was Plup and HBot, or mainly Plup that didn't.
Yeah, I just think for whatever reason, like it's kind of been this way where people try to do these cool incentives for doubles, and like I don't know, I think if you're looking to things like viewer counts, like I think you're missing the point, because I think like the people who play doubles and the people who are really into doubles, like they know what they're there for, and they're not there to get the the view counts. They're not there to like get. The
I can't
prestige
have
from-
Edwin Budding spending $1 per viewer.
Yeah,
That's
I don't.
crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
not.
if it no,
I'm
to be
not here
clear,
for
to be clear, if you're the type of person that is even thinking about metrics like dollar per viewer, then you're not a doubles person. Like
I'm not here
I just don't
for
think-
anecdotes, dude. I need to see some sort of statistical data to show me that doubles is worth it. We pay for these broadcasts on Friday, and nobody watches them. They're a fucking money pit. They're a waste of resources.
Yeah, and I
Like, the
mean,
one
frankly,
thing-
if
To be clear, the one thing that has worked is when Genesis brought out Armada to do commentary, had
Yeah.
Mango team with AMSA, had every top player in the world enter doubles. And no other tournament organizer seems to be willing to do this, even the ones that say that they love doubles. And I don't understand why. It's obviously a huge amount of work to put in that I just think people are realizing is not worth it, unfortunately.
dude, I think
Well,
when
how do we? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think when it comes to top doubles teams, like if you want, I think you said it with Armada. I think there's like 3 or 4 teams / players that like get people excited. I think if you get PPU to do something, I think if you get Armada to do something, and like
Yeah,
maybe Mango Lucky.
listen,
I think the friendship there,
I
the
will
friendship,
be
there are
as
storylines
charitable-
in doubles.
I will be as charitable to doubles as I have ever been on this show right now and say that the blueprint is actually there if you want to do it. I just think it's difficult. But if you're an insane doubles lover, I encourage you to do it. I
Look,
really enjoyed watching that Genesis.
Like, for instance, back when I was writing King of the Cube, we did Pew Pew SFAT versus Tempo Run Riot one week.
Got
and
it.
that was a fantastic week, like viewer wise.
Yeah.
Like I had, 1,000 people or whatever watching, and they were like, this is phenomenal. Then it was one of probably my more popular matches that I did. I'm looking at, I just pulled up my YouTube channel, it did pretty fucking well. So like, I don't know. I think that like, it's just hard because there just aren't that many. And for whatever, and I will say, going back to the Hungrybox Plup thing real quick, for whatever reason, even though they are like a super duper top doubles team from that era, for whatever reason, that narrative just didn't latch on as hard, like with them compared to PewFat.
This makes me think we should do show matches with doubles teams instead.
It didn't latch on because
here's-
Plup wasn't anywhere to be found.
Here's
It's
what I'll
a
say.
small contingent.
All right,
Here's
last
what I'll
thoughts.
say.
Last thoughts.
You're doing it for the streets, and that's cool and based, and I love that. But you then don't get to go on Twitter and ask why aren't TOs doing more about doubles. The answer is clear.
Doubles is a fake format meant for children who can't play the game by themselves and they need someone else to blame.
You're the only Peach player I've ever heard say anything. Have you talked to the rest of your your player base?
There's like 3 that like doubles, and the rest of us just do it. Look, I'm not bad at doubles. I've top 8'd majors in doubles.
I know you're not bad at doubles because I've seen the character that you choose on the character select screen. It's very hard to be bad at doubles when you play Peach.
You know what?
Very, very
You know
hard.
what? You try to get carried by
that sounded a
Kingsoul.
little bit like a
You
guilty
get carried
conscience.
by a rivals
speaking
player.
Bbatts.
I'm
All
not being a Peach hater at all. By the way, I'm not saying that you don't have.
But
your
if you're
unique
talking
struggles. I'm
about
just saying that character's
supporting
pretty
and getting carried,
easy doubles.
Not Peach players versus commentators part 2, bro. We can't handle it again.
All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Well,
Our next topic. Practical Tasks announced new rules around box controllers and firmware to be installed on controllers to enforce it. My understanding is that this new firmware creates a trade-off. If you want to constantly hold down on the C-stick button on your digital controller, even digital controller players would need to use an uncomfortable claw grip, making it harder to use a key defensive tool in Melee for free. Critics say this firmware hasn't been tested enough. Box owners won't know how to flash custom firmware, and so there'll be an implementation gap. Frame 1 users are weirdly isolated due to some conflict between Practical Tasks and Greg Turbo. And in general, the advertising of new rules as final, even when they were iterated on that very week, is misleading and lacks transparency. But overall, is this a win for critics of digital controllers? And what does it mean for kind of the Melee controller never-ending story overall?
Real quick.
Yeah.
I'm really glad, just from the way you worded the question, I'm really glad that you apparently know exactly as much as I do about the specifics of the Practical Task versus Greg Turbo beef. Because I spent
No, I know more than you. I'm
maybe you
playing
do.
dumb
Okay,
for
well, the way
show.
you worded it, at least, it was exactly how I feel. Because I spent roughly a minute and a half trying to parse it, and I was like, yeah, something's going on here. These guys don't like each other. Fuck if I know it.
No,
and
I'll disclose. I'm
moved
friends
on.
with Greg Turbo, but I don't know what he's talking about half the time. So I word this in that vein. I'm also friends with Practical Tasks. My friends are fighting.
Look, I just think
They often do.
whenever it comes to very complicated Melee things that a lot of people care about that I'm not very invested in, I always like to apply a rule called the "Is it fun" rule, right? So just in any controversial topic, I try to look at it and see is this fun for the community? And if it's not, then we shouldn't do it. And I feel like digital controllers are one of those things that I understand why people have big opinions on it because it impacts the gameplay and it impacts specific situations that may not be possible on a regular or standard controller. But if you ask most people if they still find playing Melee fun against box players or non-box players, I think most attendees just don't really think of this stuff. They may have conceptualized views about box controllers and what they can or can't do.
I actually think this is where box controllers kind of fail the test. I think a lot of people play box controllers and they find it very unfun, but they just kind of forget about it because it's only 1 out of every 50 people or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's something
for
about
what
the
it's
sauce with playing on a GameCube controller that's it's a lot to learn in a new format, and I think a lot, part of the appeal of playing Melee is that you can just play on a regular controller.
Yeah, I'll say I think box controllers fail it just because like when the guy pulls out his massive ass box, you're just like, oh wow, this guy's a nerd. Like this person is a nerd for playing me. That's what the average attendee's thinking, I feel. Like no one's walking into a tournament seeing the guy pull out this massive thing and just going like, yeah, facts. Like this is a fair controller.
I'm giving you points. I don't know really why, but you have a very weird view on what people are thinking at events. I'm finding out.
Imagine walking into an event.
You're in the astral plane. You're walking with Hungry Box.
I will say I don't know if empathetic is the word, but like I will say that there is an like an aspect of the whole is it fun to play against box controller debate where I'm kind of like uniquely almost like a box apologist here, because I do think that people and you really see this with, I'm sorry to shout out, or I'm sorry to put none on blast here, Ed, you know I love you, but none had this, like, is somebody who particularly struck me as somebody who was really, really into, like, if you do something weird, he's like, oh, this person must be on box. Like, he's like, if you watch his streams back, and he's like a Fox does like a double shot. He's like, this guy's on box. And I will say that there was this whole era, like, especially during the Slip era, where everybody was obviously just always playing online, where people would go like, they had a really preset sort of idea of what box play looks like. And I do think some people are making it more miserable for themselves than it really is in reality by imagining that everybody's cheating or something. So I'm a little bit more on the box apologist side of this whole argument. Now, I will say when it comes to this specific debate, I think that conceptually, like, okay, I remember the first person that did the whole remapping the C down thing that was really prominent was Gatsu. And Gatsu was telling me that he was doing this thing on Smashbox. And I will say that as a Melee player, I'm like, ooh, that's dirty. And I'm not sure if that should be allowed. But going back to, is it fun rule? You know, I play a lot of fighting games now. I mostly play on Hitbox. I always think it's very creative when people like Daigo start doing weird things with their 20 button controller or whatever, as long as it's within the rules. So like part of me is kind of like, it's like conceptually fun. Yeah. I don't know if that's just
you like baseball on steroids.
No, see, and Jack, I might feel different. I might feel different if I were a Melee competitor today. If I was actually entering tournaments and trying to place well, I'm not really doing that anymore. Maybe I'd be more in the weeds about it. You know, I'd be like, nah, screw this. This is unfair, da-da-da. But I think those of us who don't really compete super duper actively anymore, we kind of look at it differently from that perspective.
Yeah, and I also think it's important just to remember, it's still not that many people. Like, I think I've lost to one box player, like, so far in my career, maybe two. Like, and I think it's not that many people who are playing on box still. And like,
the truth is, if they had won a major by now, these nerfs would have been out 2 years ago. Like,
well, we also have stuff to like review now. Like, we have the recommendation or the rule set or whatever, where like any further changes, like the C-stick clustering stuff, can actually be discussed like on the merits now, right? Like, so I do think it's a step forward that this thing exists, even if there's issues with transparency and communication and, like, I guess inclusion of different parties involved. But like, at least it's there, right? So I think it's a step in the right direction.
Final thoughts, Mikey.
Jack, you know how I feel about boxes. You know that I think the boxes create more of a competitive integrity problem than wobbling. But none of that matters anymore. We can't do the box buyback program. I think these nerfs are a move in the right direction, because I do think that they create, boxes create competitive inequity. And that'll never change, not even with these nerfs, because I think the idea that you push a button and you know within a couple of coordinates what angle you're going to hit every single time is something that is incompatible with the things that we want to test in competitive Melee. So now it's all about pragmatism. It's all about how can we work with these controllers that we can't get rid of. And I think the number one problem is going to be enforcement. And I'm afraid of that. Is that going to work at all? We'll see. I hope it does. And maybe this is something we could try with Full Bloom, like try to really crack down on enforcing these rules. Or flower tournament.
At any kind of future hypothetical event that we collaborate on.
Or Smash Camp, or Kings of Cali, or Melee.
That's
FC.
Right. We're doing Kings of Cali. Me and Mikey bought the account from Blur.
Or the Fourside Regional.
Let's move on to our next topic. It's another Edwin Budding. I'm just going to give you some points because I'm realizing two of the topics are generated from your opinion blogs. Edwin Budding here wrote a post on his Monday Morning Marth that I wanted to talk about. It was a critique of how Melee events are marketed. He argues that our marketing strategies haven't adapted since 2016. Our move to Discord from Facebook has limited outside discovery. Twitch and Twitter are unreliable for the same reason, and we lack a consistent recap show, which I'm not going to get offended by because it's been a month since our last episode, so I'm just going to have to eat that one. Edwin suggested a variety of potential solutions using modern social media, using the Slippy launcher to promote upcoming events, but I'll open it up to the group. Is Edwin right? Do we suck at marketing our events? Are there other forces at play? And what should we do about it?
Can I start? No, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go second.
Not again.
Yeah. Oh no. But no, I think the Melee marketing has been egregious for the past few years. Like,
Like good or bad?
bad.
Egregious.
Yeah, no, I think it's been egregious. I mean, like, I think that we've been kind of pulling from, as Edwin was saying, the same playbook that we've done for basically the past decade. We haven't really found a way to implement new social media. We're kind of just begging Walt to upload a clip of a young player beating someone old, or we're waiting for like random people to make small amounts of content, short form, that are working for us. And like, I feel like we need something a little bit more centralized, a bigger org or a bigger organization to really take like short form content and these big clips and these big commentary moments. Cause like we randomly go viral every once in a while. Everyone knows Melee, but no one knows how to consistently make Melee content, which probably is just, they don't know how to profit from it, which means they get disincentivized over time.
Yeah, one of the sorry,
you go
go
last.
ahead, Mike. Yeah.
Where
Okay.
is GR Smash? Why is
Dude.
GR Smash making video essay content now? Bring back the top misfire moments, top salty ice
Tell me about
climber
it,
moments
bro.
videos, top rage salt compilations.
You could run it all back.
We literally run it all back. There's so much more material. Open up Smash GIFs again. Everyone start posting their clips in there, and we'll farm, and it'll all be okay. And then we can make short form vertical video content with all of this shit now too, and it'll all be good. Where is it? Why doesn't it exist?
We need the VOD stealer back. Who's the person stealing the VOD
Sunny
stealer?
Saigon!
We do not need Sunny Saigon. We need a Sunny Saigon-like person.
Yeah, like the
need
true
to
successor to
Typical
Saigo,
Sunny
but like the
Saigon.
actual goat.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that you know how you know it's bad is okay. So I'm not that clued in. I don't spend as much time looking at Twitter as I don't know, maybe the people that seem to be more informed than me. But okay, look, I actually, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know what SoCal Star League was like for the first two, and I didn't know what was happening. And then I'd see like one tweet from Aiden, like SoCal Star League. I'm thinking, okay, let me put it to you like this. I know what the Genesis logo and the Genesis branding looks like. You know, it's kind of the long letters, right? And it's red and black.
It's Epic Gamer.
What's the SoCal Star League? Is there
It's like
is there a
cursive.
graph?
And that's it.
Like what? I guarantee you. I guess like the metric I always use, and it's getting bad because I'm kind of jumping in this boat too. But the metric I used to use and kind of still use is: does Bobby Scar know about this?
Oh,
And if
no.
I'm just so sure Bobby does not know what SoCal Star League is, like has never heard of it. And
I
it's
think that
pathetic
stopped
because-
being a fair
isn't it
metric
being-
like
isn't
2
it-
years ago.
No,
Bobby
but
doesn't
still,
know.
no. Let me
2016
finish. Hey, let me
Bobby
finish.
doesn't know who Bbatts
No.
is. He does.
I strongly,
No, he
I
doesn't.
strongly disagree because I think the Bobby Scars of the world are exactly who we need to be marketing to. And to be
Yep.
fair, there's plenty of shit Bobby's heard of. Bobby knew that Mango and Zain were first attending, for instance. He knew that was happening. So
Is Bobby reachable on TikTok though? Like what do you?
No, not TikTok. Well, first of all, there's 2 points here. One, first of all, I'm with you that I think we could target more Zoomers, but I also think that in particular with Melee, I think there are a lot of people that used to pay a lot of attention to it that probably don't pay as much attention these days. There's a gazillion people, if you go on Reddit, that like know who Mango and Leffen and all these people are that used to watch during the Evo heyday. We don't have to just be marketing towards TikTok Zoomers. We could be pulling some of these tens of thousands of people who used to watch Evo Melee, hundreds of thousands even. We could be there's ways we could be pulling them, back in. And just
a sleeper than to get a new person.
No, I mean, I think we should be doing both. But I guess my point is like, you just know it's bad when like, I don't know, isn't Aiden like one of the most visible people we have in the community? Like, why? I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like there's probably I don't think there's one strategy that we're not doing that we should be doing. I think there's a couple like low-hanging fruit areas that we could definitely be working on, and I think it should be a multi-pronged thing.
I agree with you. The thing that I hear this often from people about like older Melee players. I really think though that their like consumption of media diet is totally different than when they were in the Melee community, like in a super deep and persistent way. Like if they were still giving Melee as much time as they gave it in 2014, they would be abreast of the news.
Abreast of that should be the name of this episode. That's definitely the name of this episode when it goes on YouTube, right?
All right, Edwin, Toph, or not Toph, Jesus, Mikey.
I already said my piece. I asked where GR Smash is.
You did your bit.
I do agree with Toph that it's a lot of people, and I know this firsthand just from like my local community. Like it's completely refreshed. I go to locals now, and it's Violence, who's been playing since 2004, and then aside from that, I'm the person that's been playing the longest, and that's fucking crazy to me.
When did you start?
I still feel like a baby. I started in 2014. Toph, I'm a dog kid. Toph,
you and
my God,
Facebook.
you're so old.
So
I'm
I think
30, Billy.
We've been
I
playing
think a
10
while
years,
ago-
Toph, 10 years.
I think a while ago we've sort of had shifting responsibilities and expectations from our tournaments, right? In terms of like uploading VODs, right? That used to be something that was very uncommon. People would just have so much footage that they never uploaded. They just have a ton of matches. Then Brandon started doing it. Pac-Man in the East Coast started doing it. PGH Smash started doing it. And I think in similar fashion, well, first off, with major tournaments, I think they need to upload VODs like immediately. Like they should just hire someone to do it. Like because like it really does, like just based on what I've looked at, it really does make a difference. Like how quickly you upload YouTube VODs of sets, like that's the difference between like hitting the algorithm.
I don't know. We uploaded VODs immediately for Riptide, and the double sets where Plup and HBox lose still have 500 views.
Don't blame double.
Okay,
No, literally,
Congratulations.
Jam, I went back and I looked at side stream top 64 sets from Big House 7, and there are like 30K views on some of those like fucking Nintendo versus Blade-wise sets. You know? And no, I'm saying that even the single sets now,
and Golden Era,
even the single sets now, like our highest viewed VODs will struggle to reach like 5 figures. Like top 8 VODs will struggle to do that now.
Yeah, I think it's like critical. And I think in general, because we have so much footage from major tournaments, it's worth like, I really don't think it's cheap to like repackage or reuse some of them for the shorts format, because there's so much content throughout Melee history that is just hidden in like these 30 or 25-minute VODs that could easily be chopped up and sliced into a big short series. And I'm not saying it would like suddenly save Melee or get like hundreds of thousands of people to like start going to events or whatever, but like it would help. I think it would be a really good effort to just be a little like quicker on the pulse there.
Yo, I've got I don't know if this is like I don't know if this should close the topic out or anything, but an idea that I do have that I just want to shout out because I think this is the best time to do it. And this is kind of related to this topic. Something I've noticed the chess community does now, the chess.com YouTube account in particular, they're really big on this. So I guess it's TikTok style. And to be fair, I don't know that we have the number of camera or cinematographer or like, you know, whatever, people with cameras at events to like necessarily execute on this immediately. But something they do that I actually think is genius is they will like, they will literally just, it won't even be gameplay. Because to be fair, chess, like sometimes it's hard to capture the gameplay in like a YouTube short, but they'll just show like somebody walking, like they'll show moments of the most recognizable players just walking around the venue or like making faces after something happens, or they just want to set and maybe they pop off or they do a little whatever, a little fist bump. Just little small things, and then they'll like slow it down and put some fucking.
You want a fan cam of
Sigma
Mango.
music, fucking
You just want fan cam.
Zain Sigma edits. Like that's what I'm thinking here. And like we've had this question for a while of like, how do we, you know, you have the mythos of the 5 gods, right? And I think a really long-standing question that always gets brought up, and I know Zain was worrying about this for a long time, was like, how do we build the mythology of the new era of the Melee god, like the new Melee gods, right? And because we haven't really been able to do it yet. And I feel like more stuff like that, like because I would have to just show you guys some of the YouTube shorts or the TikToks or whatever that chess.com and those guys are doing to show you really what I mean. But like, it'll just be like the top players like fucking walking around the video, like zooms in on their face and they look all badass. They're looking at a board and then there's like some fucking like, you know, funk music playing. And it's just, I don't know. We could be doing something like that or not.
I want to see a Kyle Crudo fan cam tonight.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm exactly Kyle Crudo, by the way.
All right, finish us off, Bbatts.
No, I
love
think
Kyle
that honestly, who doesn't love Kyle Crudo?
I really like that
He's
guy.
just one of the goats.
I really like that guy.
Oh my god, I still have to play. I think it's a Phasmophobia with that guy, but
You gotta figure out how to focus your camera is what you gotta do.
yeah, no, I don't know how to fix this.
All right.
But I will say that I think that in terms of branding, I actually really agree with something. I really agree with what Toph said there. The SoCal Star League logo, I didn't even know they had one, and I was a competitor in one, and I was flown out to the West Coast to take part in it. So when you said, do they have a logo? I thought, no. And then I checked their page, and the answer was yes. And I think that's a sad thing. We really do. I think, honestly, I think every major needs to pick a color. They need to pick some cool branding. I think a tournament doing a lot of that right now is Wavelength. I think they have a cool branding. It's kind of like race car-y, like the race car flags, which I think are cool. And I think sorry,
that was going to be the Summit 15 theme for the record, by the way.
The one I would have went to, but I think that this entire thing on branding and recognizability of tournaments is big because like I talked to people today about Melee at my school and I was like, I'm a Melee player, and they were like, oh, so Mango, and I was like, yeah, and they were like, in Hungry Box, and I was like, yeah, and they were like, I know no other players, and that's something we got to change. Like we need people, we need Zain to be known.
Where's the Zain documentary?
I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about later. I think that it could seriously work. Hey, one more thing real quick on this topic that I just thought of, because you were mentioning, oh yeah, dude. And like certain people have done this in the past, but like, remember, for instance, remember the script? Was it the script? There was one, I think it was the script 2. There's one of those where like Wizzy and Nunn they did a trailer. And like Wizzy and Nunn were like race car drivers, and then the song by Cake was playing. It was like reluctantly crouch at the starting line, and then fucking Nunn gets in the car and like they filmed it at the racetrack. That was a sick like.
Yeah, the script was hilarious until they got to the not
the
cool
distance.
Characters. Then they just gave up.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it was good every time.
No,
like,
I get what you're saying.
Like,
I just thought
we
it
should
was funny.
we should make trailers for tournaments again, because that was like a cool. Again, it's hard to get it to land every
shout out
single
Don't
time.
Park.
Yeah.
Don't Park. Yeah, Don't Park. Even like
Don't Park's trailer is great.
The only
just need finally games to be
I have
sent everywhere.
the only reason I have any knowledge as to what ass is because of the fucking ass trailer, where the dudes are in the fucking basement, or where the top players in the basement, or the top players are upstairs, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know anything about the Oregon local scene, but ass is killing.
They're great.
They're phenomenal. They're doing
a
bet. There's a better chance he knows about ass than SoCal Star League, straight up. Like, I don't know. Like, there's stuff that some of our TOs are doing that the other ones need to adopt. Like, we've got the talent in the scene. It just needs to go to the right places. Like, we can do it. We
have a
ability to do it.
We can do it. And we just haven't been using it.
Let's move on to our next topic. Speaking of we can do it, let's get to a big one. Fizzy has announced in the form of a job posting for a creative director that he is working on a pseudo Melee clone. He stated that after Nintendo shut down the Big House Online during the pandemic, he began working on a side project worried about the vulnerability of the Melee scene and of Slippy Online itself. He has alluded to the goal being to be as close to Melee's feel and from the engine and movement itself as possible, with characters largely reskinned to avoid copyright infringement rather than complete overhauls of the movesets. There was an enormous amount of optimism in response to this announcement, but I also saw a very unhealthy or healthy share of cynicism, declaring that Fizzy's project would fail, like so many other platform fighters that claimed to be a game that the Melee scene can move on to. Is this game just, as my friend Papa put it, a funny little novelty, or could it be the real deal?
It's so hard to say until we get some footage or something, right? Because I think that, like, if I'm going to summarize, like, what I think people's biggest concerns are, I would say, 1, it's like fracture or split of the community. And 2, it's like, are they going to change anything about Melee? Are there going to be patches? Or is it literally going to be like a 1-to-1, Melee copy, and it's just going to be reskinned? Right. And so I think that people like I think it's fair to be, because people like Melee. Like Melee players want to play Melee. Like it's the game. I can't think of that many games that are 24 years old or whatever, and people still play it actively. So I get that people are hesitant to move on from something that clearly works and has worked for a very long time. And like to take that, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if you change one little, like, who knows, like the one butterfly effect style thing that you change and everything just, poof. Right. So I get that people are hesitant on that front. And I just think for like, it's just so hard to like remark on whether those fears are founded or not until we have
the only
any sort of footage whatsoever. We have nothing.
The only evidence we have of strong gameplay was a Hotbid tweet saying that he played an early build and that it was the game that felt the most like Melee that he's ever played.
Yeah, I mean, Hotbid, he's plays Falco.
Not hard to recreate. Not hard to recreate Falco
in that game. I think it's very interesting. I will say I do like the mental that some people have where they've been traumatized by so many NASB like scams in the community that they hear or multiverses being what it is. They hear the phrase new platform fighter and it's being made by maybe the only person in Melee who I've been like programmed to trust, and they're still going like, this is gonna be the worst thing we've ever seen in our entire lives.
So as someone who basically only plays Melee and doesn't really have an active interest in other platform fighters, I can say that Fizzy's involvement in this project is what I think makes it really interesting to me and something I would consider picking up. Even if I'm skeptical of the idea that it will be a game that our community transitions to as a primary one, because this project involves one of the most recognizable and like respectable figures in the scene, it seems to me that Fizzy and this company Fluid Games behind it is using that reputation to essentially carve out a very particular market base, sell this game to them, and promise them that their business model around this game is going to be centered around treating it like an esport rather than using it as a launching pad for, creating sequels or creating future games or creating a huge franchise. So I'm really interested to see where it goes, even if I'm reasonably skeptical about the idea that it'll replace Melee ever really, but I want to see where it goes because of the person involved, and I think it's worth being cautiously optimistic in that regard, that it might be a good game and fun game to have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really is hard to say whether it's Melee's replacement, or something that can stand in the place of Melee, at least in some circumstances, until we get our hands on it. But what I've been baffled by and confused by is the amount of like detached nihilism I've seen from people about the implications of this game coming out, even assuming that it is very close to Melee. Like, I've seen a lot of takes that are like, well, why don't we just keep playing? Like, it's cool if Melee dies, like it's fine if we just, don't chase the growth that a non-IP Melee can afford to us. And I think that's smoking crack. Like, what are we getting up for in the morning? What are we organizing Melee tournaments for? What are we making the show for if the goal is not to grow the community? Like, why are we sitting back on our heels? Are we so beaten into submission by Nintendo that we feel like it's not possible to do anything bigger? Like, I want there to be, the Melee circuit sponsored by Bud Light and Weed, as I tweeted out, or the public domain fighters tournament, rather.
We'll get to that.
Friends and friends.
Yeah, I did tweet about this. But like, to me, that is the chief thing that is a disconnect, I think, between the potential this has for TOs and the players. Like, I get the skepticism players have, but as a TO, the literal math that's going through my head is, say 1-to-1 is your perfect ideal. How many percentage points would I be willing to shave off? Like 99, 9.9 to 10, 9.8 to 10, 8 to 10, whatever, before it's not worth it to not be afraid of Nintendo. Like, TOs are scared when players tweet about UCF. We are literally in a situation where our biggest organizers with the most investment in the scene and bringing people together are actively, persistently worried about Nintendo's enforcement of copyright law. And I am willing to be optimistic about any way out. of that
No.
situation.
Yeah, Joe Jack, I'm sure you've been commentating recently. I'm
No,
sure
I
you've
haven't.
been.
Nobody hires me
no.
anymore.
No, I just mean like in the past, insert X amount of years you've been commentating. Like, in the past few years. Like, what do you want me to say, my boy? But
It's been a rough year, okay? It's been a dry season.
Okay, you know what? It hasn't been a rough year for me. But
Why'd you say my boy like the king from those
he's my
Zelda
boy.
He's my child mentor.
Yeah,
my boy.
but I
Benjamin
think that
Button speech player.
you've gotten the spiel. It's the don't talk about Frozen Stadium, don't talk about UCF, don't talk about insert X topic here that we don't want to get in trouble over. I'm sure you've been given it before a top 8, Toph. Like we're supposed to not mention this stuff. It's like, and that's kind of weird too. It's kind of sad to me. I remember there was a big the big one which was during the Panda Cup, RIP, but during the Panda Cup when
Not RIP.
Yeah, no, they're monsters. But
Rest in power.
Yeah. They had a big talk. They were like, no one mentioned Slippy at all, and this is at a point where the majority of tournaments were probably still taking place on Slippy, and that caused a lot of drama because it's like, what are we how much are we supposed to be quiet as a community about what makes our game cool before we're like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like this kind of sucks that we can't talk about all the cool stuff that we're doing. Like we have the best online of any fighting game. Why can't we brag about that everywhere all the time?
I asked earlier today, and some of my fighting game friends said it was not the best. They said it was like the fourth best. Curly. But Curly doesn't like it.
I will say that
we saw the numbers Curly put up on this show. We're not taking her opinion.
Be nice.
Just objectively, I think Melee Rollback had a case for the best when it came out. Like, you know, in the pandemic, but I think it's not the best.
It's probably been overtaken now.
Well, yeah, like modern, like Street Fighter 6, you can just play West Coast of Japan.
Well, do you guys think that they and if we're overboard on this topic, we move on. But like,
I have a second topic about it. You want to hit it?
I was just gonna say, like, do you guys think that the esports business model, like around like treating like the main sources of revenue for this company coming from like merch or things around like the actual esports league over like the production of other games and stuff, do you think that can work, or do you think this truly just exists as like armor for TOs or a way for them to make it a little potentially more worth it running their event?
I think they're trying to keep their team small and their expenses light. And when they say that they're focusing on competitive, they don't mean like we're like Riot Games. They just mean we're okay with a limited scope, and we want to create baseball, right?
I have
and
to say that
so that baseball can continue.
I have to say that I think Fizz has got his work cut out for him. I don't think people will like, you talk about the limited scope thing, like, you know, I think if Samus isn't in the game, like shit like that, like I think it just doesn't fly. I think there's two ways he can go. I think one is give the Melee players everything, like, and I do mean everything, you know, including the same level of like graphical fidelity, sound design, or, you know, like be ambitious and trust yourself and like make something maybe that's very Melee inspired. And basically your alpha or your value add is that as Fizzy, you know Melee's engine better than anybody, but you decide that you're going to make something different and something that has more characters or whatever.
I think the fact that he said replace Melee specifically,
he did say that, so I think
means that he's probably going for the former rather than the latter. You know,
and the problem with that kind of mission statement. The problem with that kind of mission statement is I think that's what Icon's Combat Arena was trying to do, and like,
but it sucked.
It sucked, and it didn't feel as good. Like,
what do you mean? We played it at Smash Summit. It was great.
Did we?
Yeah, no, wasn't that game at the tournament?
There are many Smash Summits, Toph.
I've been to every Smash Summit.
Like tears.
I've been to every Smash Summit except 3. So if
we have the encyclopedia up there.
If it wasn't at Smash Summit 3, I don't think it was at Smash Summit. But anyway.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. This one's going to be long because I generated some discourse this week. One topic of discussion that took off due to the combined powers of myself and Hungrybox on the Twitter timeline was the idea that Melee 2 should use public domain characters or a combination of original and public domain characters, Kingdom Hearts style. To me, this allows the game to replicate that special sauce Smash games have where you feel an emotional connection to the characters, like they have lives outside of the game. I believe that in the fuel that makes Axe and Amsa so popular above and beyond their gameplay alone is their association with Pikachu and Yoshi. But perhaps public domain characters are seen as too old and lame. Dracula, Tarzan, King Kong, Robin Hood, Frankenstein's monster.
Right, I've got a great take here.
Everyone in the Wizard of Oz. I also believe that we should not just break Nintendo's chains by simply giving a new developer the same legal power they have. We should ask any Save Melee team to not use copyrighted characters, original or not, at all. Still, I believe Jigglypuff becoming Humpty Dumpty would change the world.
I actually
got to ask the question. Let me finish. I wrote a whole speech. Am I Jackzilla and my associate in this matter, Hungrybox Juan Debidma, smoking crack, or are we cooking a little?
I think you're onto something. I think it shouldn't be, because I think that when people imagine like whatever Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse, like Dracula, I think they've got a very specific thing in their heads. This is what I would do, because I think there's a community, there's a how do I put this? There is a set of video game developers that actually figured out how to do this. And it's the Japanese gacha game video game development community. So for instance, I guess the first one was Contact Collection, right? And then Azure Lane did the same thing. Like they basically, for gacha games, you need to be constantly putting out new characters that you can get your community to spend a bunch of money on, right? So it's like, well, shit, do we design all these characters ourselves? Or do we have some kind of shortcut to like provide us, some way to do that? So Contact Collection, Azure Lane, they literally take historical war battleships and cruisers and they turn them into, little waifus, or they don't have to be waifus. You could make them whatever. Fate Stay Night, Fate Grand Order does it with historical characters. So there's fucking the Count of Monte Cristo, and there's
Civilization does this too.
Right, exactly. You could have fucking Abraham Lincoln in there, whatever. Like, they have
Jesus H.
Oda
Christ himself.
Oda Nobunaga, literally Jesus
Ali
H.
Selassie
is a character in the Drifters anime. Drifters is an anime that's not a gacha game, but the premise is that all these historical figures kind of respawn into an afterlife where they do battle with each other, and there's some are good and some are bad. Jesus H. Christ is literally, and so these characters are
Which side is Jesus on in the anime?
Evil, actually.
Oh,
in any case, I guess the point I'm making is, and they take these, essentially not public domain, but these, characters or historical figures.
They are public domain.
And they do, public domain. And they do character design on them. They make them badass. Maybe they make them look like fucking, like they've got crazy Gundam armor or some shit. But they start from, and so I think that, Jack, I think you're onto something. I think it shouldn't be it shouldn't be literally Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse, but you could take Dracula, or you could take, the fucking D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers, and you could make him look cool in a way that Fate Grand Order made fucking Leonardo da Vinci look different and cool, or, in that case, they're trying to sell waifus, so they make it a cute girl or whatever, but this is something that they figured out, and like half the gacha games are just pulling from the public.
It's in the execution.
I think you're spitting, Toph.
Uma Musume, every character that you pull from that game, they're fucking Japanese racehorses.
So
they literally take racehorses and they're like, what is this racehorses? Like they're real life racehorses. Like they exist.
I think
you're at the racetrack.
All right, we got to get other people in.
I think you're absolutely
I agree. Great way of putting it.
I think you're absolutely spitting here. And even more than the idea of having characters that people already have an existing connection to is the idea of playing with IP itself and the concept of the game. I think that this game will exist because of our struggle with IP, because of all of the shit that we've had to do to overcome Nintendo's really stranglehold that they've had on us because of their intellectual property and Melee. And I think that it really only works if we are directly protesting that. If we are saying this game exists specifically to be IP-free Melee. And I don't think it accomplishes that with original characters necessarily. I think it will look like something else if we are not very intentional about saying, fuck your copyright. And that's what this game exists for, and that's why it's here.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
let's get in Bbatts and Edwin.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that it's very important to remember people don't just play Melee for the engine. I think sometimes we confuse as Melee players that people are touching this game and playing it just because, like, oh, the game feels so great. People like this game to watch. They like watching the people who are playing it, and they like watching the characters play it. I play Melee, and I play Princess Peach because I want to play a pretty princess beating people up. I find that visual cool. I like Princess Peach because of that. And, like, I think it's important to remember these characters and making sure we transfer a level of identity to them that people can have going in, like Jack said, having these pre-existing notions, being like, oh, I like this. This is an interesting person to me, rather than having to explain why a character is cool, having to give lore. If things have lore already, let's use it. And then let's make money off of it so that we can fuel our scene for 1 billion years.
Well, one thing I want to ask you guys, I'm down with the protest game. I understand the point of IP being deliberate in order to kind of highlight our whole community's what should be our view on this topic. But, you know, just to take the other side, because we all seem to be on the same page about this. Do you think there's any risk in taking a public domain character, using it, and having it like turn out bad? Like if you have a public domain character, but you don't have like the set like iconic sounds for it, like whether it's the voice acting or like the music or things like that from like specific actors or specific like companies or whatever that might have the rights.
I mean, there's been so many people who have played these different characters in the public domain that like, yes, people might compare them to the one that they know, but like I'm used to there being 15 different Sherlock Holmes. In my life, there was Benedict Cumberbatch, Robert Downey Jr., and the best of them, whose name I can't remember on freaking Elementary.
It's a meme now on the copyright subreddit that they keep making Winnie the Pooh horror movies.
Right.
Yeah. I do think there's a way you could do it. You could do it poorly, and it feels like you're defiling the characters and the idea of them. But like, again, that's a question of execution, and any game developer can fail with original characters, with non-original characters. The question is if it's easier or harder.
And I think the goal is you create something new that attempts to be iconic in its own right. If you can't carry over a piece of music or a voice actor, you try to give the new voice actor
interpretation.
You do the gotcha.
We get a Scandinavian goat to voice act Dracula, and we have them like go all in on the voice acting, and we see what they make.
We get Armada.
They make something cool. Exactly. If we get Armada to voice Dracula, we make like $8 million.
Romania is very much not Scandinavia. By the way,
we can try.
One other thing I wanted to add is like with this Melee, like let's assume that the goal is to be Melee's replacement, which by all accounts it seems to be like a pretty lofty ambition. Do you think that fundamentally changes like the way that we see like are we going to stop calling Fox or Marth? Marth,
I think that's one of the better objections, and like points towards an approach where you just like make the character called the Fox
dog.
Right?
I mean, the Fox sounds better than the Marth.
I literally think
the king
this game should not exist outside of like 1% of applications that the Melee community already has. You know, like I'm not replacing this Melee with this game at Smash Camp, right? A tournament that's not licensed.
Wow.
Like that won't happen. Like I don't think it's necessary.
Interesting.
But if we Fizzy.
Okay, I'm going to go so far. I'm going to go so far as to say that if that is the end result, like if Fizzy makes this game and his mission statement is what we're kind of all thinking that it is, which is to replace Melee, and Melee doesn't get replaced at Smash Camp, I think Fizzy failed.
It's called Smash Camp.
Think about the
So I think that Fizzy won't have made. I think Fizzy won't have. Like, I think Fizzy won't have made.
I will say. I think he's smoking crack to say replacing a little bit. I think supplementing is a much better idea.
So that's fine then. And I mean, I do think that at the end of the day, though, like if he makes anything that we're running at majors, like I think the top players are going to play that because they want to practice for the majors, and I think that that's going to trickle down.
Nobody practices for Smash Camp, though. You have to understand this.
Yeah, but so like, dude, if Genesis is running the Fizzy Melee clone, like Mango and Zain and Cody are all going to be practicing that. And that's what's going to be streamed on all the channels. And I think and people are good. People look up to the top players for a reason. I just don't see a world where Genesis is running this and Big House isn't.
I think it depends.
I think that would be a colossal failure.
Have you seen Mango's stream lately? Have you seen the amount of ungodly Van City Primal skins that he's putting on his stages and characters? That game doesn't look like Melee at all.
No, that's still Melee. That's still Melee.
The thing is, we know Falco when we see Melee.
We know that Banana is Falco.
This could still be Melee.
I don't I think it's going to be.
I think it might still be Melee.
But I think it's going to be an incredibly hard thing because Toph, I think you're correct. If tournaments are going to run it, people will play it. Like the top players will always play it.
Yeah.
Because they would like to win. But I think the issue with that is that tournaments aren't going to run it if your tour guy isn't going to watch this new game, let alone play it or go to an event that's running.
What are we? Yeah. What are we working with here? This is a new
super body bags. Like I don't know what to call it, but
like we're streaming in a new Twitch game directory. Like what's going on here? And the way I'm kind of thinking about this is it's sort of like Elon Musk rebranding Twitter to X. Like we still call it Twitter. I think that was a failed rebrand. I think that
I do
Disney's got
think Disney has some advantages over Elon Musk in terms of leadership and execution of ideas and software development.
The number one reason to do this, first of all, online tournaments, I think is huge. Second is to do the public domain fighter circuit brought to you by Bud Light and Weed. And to me, that's really the only application that I care about. For this
so
it's an esports ecosystem,
how
right,
is-
Mikey?
how is
Like,
I think if it's good enough to do all that, like successfully, and people watch it, then people will switch over.
But how is Weed and Bud Light going to know what this new 300 follower on Twitch
If it's a
game
protest game, every time we make noise about Nintendo fucking us over, that's when we have the most eyes on us.
But we have we have these eyes on us. But are those two Kotaku articles and a video by Ludwig gonna generate an entire new game?
I just don't think. Yeah, I'm with Bbatts. I don't think it makes sense for Fizzy to put all these years of toil and effort into making a new game. And the point is like so that we can make noise about copyright. Like,
I think that's like.
And if that's your goal, if you're a game developer, if you're a game developer and that's your goal, like
I think that's like the sort of philosophical
I know
part.
for a fact that there are sponsors out there who are waiting to sponsor Melee tournaments but cannot do it because of Nintendo. I know 100% that that's true.
They're trying to sponsor
Melee. Yeah.
They don't care that it's a protest. That might be important to us, and it might be something that spurs.
To them, they just want the game.
But Bud Light does not care for an IP protest. They care if the game is popular.
I think they'll be down to ride with us.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fine line.
And it snowballs from there.
I don't think Weed and Bud Light have our back. Like, I just don't think they're...
Weed did have our back. You youngster.
Weed absolutely does.
Child.
What do you call it? I'm going to Rivals, gang. Like, I'm leaving, but y'all have fun with this. Like, figure this.
Yeah, I mean,
some rich father is out there.
Let's just say there is no precedent for this, and maybe Fizzy can be the first, but if you're making essentially a reskin of Melee and it's just a reskin of Melee. Look, first of all, I've got my own questions about for instance, I don't know if you guys saw the way Pal World finally got sued, Pocket Pair got sued by Nintendo. It was over patents that Nintendo specifically had with game mechanics. It wasn't what do you call it? Copyrights. Yeah, it wasn't an intellectual property copyright infringement lawsuit. It was patent infringement, and the patents in question were specific ways your Pokeball or your Pal. I don't know. I haven't played Power World. It was ways your Pokeball got thrown. So I'm not even so sure. I'm not even so sure that we just literally ripped the game mechanics one for one, but because we didn't touch the IP, we're in the clear. I don't know.
I think that we're not going to have that problem unless we're big enough that we've been proven right anyway,
So what you're saying is Bud Light and Weed sponsorships.
We need Bud Light or we need Weed.
I guess I don't understand the vision here. It is
fair to say there are millions of dollars that were left on the table for supporting the Melee scene because Nintendo blocked our ability to access that growth or
millions.
That money, even for the viewership
it's
we have
still
now.
happening. It's still happening.
It's still happening.
I guess we're gonna have a test run.
The number is going up.
I'm just happy that the Crimson Blur's idea of reverse engineering Melee, one of his two crack smoking ideas, is sort of being spiritually followed, and then maybe in another 9 years, his idea about gamblers saving the scene through just incorporating
I don't know
gambling.
about that
Maybe
one.
in another 9 years that
They're
Yeah.
pulling back sports
I am sure that
gambling
this
ads
will be
now.
a
It's-
consistent topic of discussion on Fourside as Fizzy adds more and more development, but I do want to move us on.
Okay.
Bbatts, final thoughts.
Yeah, but my final thought is we're about to have a test run. We're about to have a new game that
Mhm.
Melee players seem to enjoy in Rivals 2, made by people who seem to have a very strong interest in growing competitively within the Smash scene, and with people who the Smash scene like in Ludwig and we'll call an off-brand. So we're about to test this. If these sponsors are willing to come out to represent, with massive content creators backing this game, are they going to come out and support the Platfighter scene? If not, we're fucked. Because Melee 2 Electric Boogaloo isn't going to succeed if the game doesn't look like Melee. We're about to learn, will it or will it not? Like, Rivals 2 is the closest thing we're going to
I
get
do
for
not
the
think
next 4
Rivals is a
years.
test because Rivals 2 is about Crag. And I think Melee 2 should be.
Melee 2 is going to be about Sherlock Holmes and
That's
Winnie
right,
the Pooh,
motherfucker.
like fucking on each
Well,
other.
well,
with
That's right. Let's move on to
We'll
our next
see.
topic. Hungrybox had another idea that made the news. Should we remove the Z-axis from Melee? Is he right? Follow the money. Follow the
No.
money.
I think Hungrybox. Listen. I would go so far as to even contest the. I think Hungrybox makes tweets. For like you said, Hungrybox had an idea or a question. I don't think he had an idea or a question. I think Hungrybox makes tweets for engagement and says things.
It was pure
And
id.
I'm not so
He
sure
has been
there's that
saying
much.
things about the game though before he was Twitter famous. If
Yeah.
he loses, he's gonna tweet about why he lost.
Yeah, do you guys
Right.
remember the laser limit thing he did like
Mhm.
way back? Like
Yeah,
he
I
kind of
think
just
he did.
says stuff.
He kind of just. I fully agree with. He kind of just says stuff like.
All right, so nobody agrees with him.
I think.
Who cares?
I think Yoshi players
gives
agree
a
with him. I think. I think the answer is Yoshi players. I think the Yoshi players are like, no, wait. We got to look into this. This is really
No,
important.
I love Juan
Hang on a
because he thinks there's a shot that we're gonna make the game easier on him. Like we're just gonna change the game because he whiffed 2 rests like in 2
Yeah,
different.
I will say,
But
there-
he should have
there
made.
is
They
somebody-
should have hit.
There is somebody out there who
Just
thinks that this is a
fucking
better
discredit.
use of Fizzy's time and resources than the Melee clone. And we
That's
need to have
true.
that person on this show.
Yeah, if you are an ultimate fan of Hungry Boxes who thinks that Melee is bullshit and the Z-axis should be removed so that your goat could win when he hits those rests, and you think
I
Fizzy
wonder-
should do that?
Yeah, we
instead
need
of-
Trade War back on.
Jack,
Trade
it's
War would
funny
make the
you say
case.
that because I'm kind of God. Yeah, Trade War should really be on here. It's Trade War tweets a lot. I have Trade War muted. I have Trade War muted right now. I'll just say it anyway. Jack, it's just funny you said that just like real quick because I'm like kind of thinking out loud here. I'm like, damn, does Ultimate have access? Like it probably does, right? But I don't know. I don't know what the
So,
maybe they.
I'm sure
think-
it does.
It'd be
Alright.
weird if Melee had it and they took it out. Anyway, whatever.
Edwin, do you think we should remove the Z-axis? I'll give you 5 points if you say something that makes me laugh.
No, of course not. I can't even I don't even know what I could possibly say to make the case for the Z-axis being banned.
I think if
Or
it's,
eliminated
let me
from the
put it to you
game.
this way. Let me put it to you this way. If it's really easy to do, like if it's the kind of thing where like, a cracked modder could do it in a day or two and have it be a gecko code, it'd be cool to run some like online tournaments, like testing it out.
I think you'd have to
would it be
mod
cool?
Flat Zone.
I feel like
to
nothing-
see
This is
all the
like-
stages.
This is like when
Yeah, that's what I'm
Riptide
saying.
ran
That's what I'm
the.
saying, Jack.
This is like when Riptide ran the Aiden stage rule
Aiden
tournament.
Yeah, it was
basically
yeah.
just
Yeah, why
Melee
not?
2.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
it's just
why
kind of
not?
melee, but the rules
You
are a
can
little...
do it for a side tournament. I mean, Aiden's whatever rule was sick because Aiden got top 8 and it was funny. I don't know.
All right, let's move on to our
Is
next
that bad?
topic. Don't Park in the Grass, speaking of Aiden, has raised its cap. We're committing to the strategy of cannibalizing unused ultimate slots that we suggested on like the last episode of this show and elsewhere. They have capped at 1,500 entrants and a whopping 1,024 entrants for Melee and 192 for Rivals 2. Why is demand so insanely red hot for Don't Park Melee? And how do you feel about this strategy of lowering caps for other games if there is crazy upfront demand for something else? Edwin?
So I think a large part of it, attendance, like one of the big, I looked at this a while ago, and one of the big things I've noticed, especially for like this decade, like the 2020s, is that like what we used to consider like Melee's premier season in the summer has really kind of like shifted to the fall more often than not. And then as far as like this year is concerned, with Big House basically with Big House going on indefinite hiatus and not taking up the spot that it used to have in October, we've sort of seen like typically what happens in events like that is that you see a lot of other smaller events kind of rise to maybe an unforeseen level of notoriety, or they rise to, or they just end up being a little bigger than they initially anticipate, right? So in this case, there's a bunch of events happening in October already, so we have a nice trickle of like warm-up events for the really big one between like Pataka, Function. You have September with Riptide. You have the Noun Showcase. So you have a lot of intrigue over Melee that's drawing top player interest and invitation. But because Big House is not there, a lot of those events have kind of gobbled up what would have been potential Big House attendees. And Dome Park, in my opinion, happens to be like the really big premier event of the winter to close this year. So I think Dome Park, in a weird way, it ended up being the main like winner of the Big House not being around anymore. Now, I want to be clear. That's not to say that the scene is better, that Big House is not in it, but it's just that's the way that sometimes events work out. When one event goes down, it's kind of like a Hydra popping new heads.
Yeah,
right?
The Big House thing, we definitely saw it with Supernova. We definitely saw it with Riptide as well, inflating those numbers, I think. But also, I think the West Coast is starved for Melee right now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no main stage in the back half of the year anymore. We haven't had Don't Park in 6 years. No Smash Camp in AZ this year. I think that there's not much happening on the West Coast that's really big, except for Battle of BC and Genesis, and those happen so far away on the calendar.
You need a passport for Battle of BC.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah,
count.
I think it's a cumulative. I think it's a cumulative thing. I think it's location and the timing. Like, I think that for like one, it's a hotly contested time of year to have a major, because like people love to get that last little bit of, they're trying to get on those rankings, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this is the time that you're cramming for the exam in that case. And speaking of the West Coast thing, dude, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the number of people who asked me if I quit commentary. I was like, no, I just kind of quit flying to the East Coast. I hate being
no summits either.
Yeah, no summits, no main stage. I've been to 4 events to commentate this year, and 3 of them were in Canada. Battle of Genesis, which
let's start our own events that we can commentate on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. It's just
Fourside Fights regional. It'll happen.
And also, I think there's more going on. Again, coming back to the whole ass thing. Don't Park in the Grass. They had a fire trailer. They had the Ada thing with the Do You Dream This Dude
quietly.
You know what I'm saying? Don't Park on the Grass is a very catchy tournament name. They got good branding. I'm envisioning the little grassy, green things, in the iconography.
Go ahead.
There's the whole Aiden storyline of Aiden started it up and then passed the torch. Don't Park on the Grass.
The Oregon
House days.
I think the entire generation of like the new generation of Pacific Northwest leadership has really killed it here. Because Mikey, you mentioned
they've done a good job.
Mikey, you mentioned before that a lot of major events are
I don't even know who these people are. I don't know who Adam is. Who's Adam?
You have
I'm gonna mute you. Goddamn. Let Edwin talk.
Yeah, you have like almost these like new institutions coming up, and like a ton of them are from it feels kind of corny to call them institutions, but they're almost like it's like vehicles for doing really cool things for the community, right? So like in British Columbia, you have the Egg Dog guys who are basically kind of running their own event there. You have like Sylvie and a bunch of the different like sub-regions of Washington kind of coordinating these bigger events. I know Carnival Clash is a growing regional series there as well. Toph mentioned Ass from before in Oregon, kind of having this really cool, like very active rising local scene as well. Yeah. So I really feel like Dome Park is also like the culmination of what's been a really long period of growth and entering the national spotlight for the Pacific Northwest. So it's just kind of like
Bbatts, you haven't gotten in, I think.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
I like Idaho, by the way.
Yeah, no, I as someone who's been recently to PNW for Smash Camp, it really is a scene that is excited to have people. It's a scene that's really pumped. I went to Ass while I was there, and like they're just an excited group of people who love the game. So it doesn't shock me that they're pumped about this. The marketing of this tournament was phenomenal. I think tournaments really are getting back to that concept of like get a vibe. your tournament should look like there's a certain vibe that's there, because people don't just want to go for nothing. Like, I think one of my favorite trailers of all time, and like one of the things that worked for me and why I registered for Don't Park, I think an hour after, was Main Stage right after the pandemic. With like I can't remember, it was like the French song and like oh, we're all coming back to like a tournament finally. And it was like, the vibe of the West Coast is like pretty warm and nice, and they're setting up like a sick event. And also, Aiden's famous now, and he's super rich and successful, and he's just allowed to tell us to go to things. It's great.
Cool. All right. Final thoughts on the topic, Toph.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even get to shout out the fact that, I don't know, I think it's in Seattle, and like, frankly, I think it's more interesting to go to Seattle for a tournament than Sandusky. Like, there's
the eighth wonder of the world.
It seems to be the
Especially-
case. It seems to be the case that there's a lot of tournaments these days, dude. And like, let alone like, man, fucking like Waterloo's cool and all, but like, I had an hour and a half drive from the airport to commentate that fucking Mango Zain first at 10. Like, I think Vinny's. I think the economy's fucked right now. I think it's hard to rent. I mean, you guys would know, TOs would know, but like, it's obviously
Colleges.
It's hard to get good. Yeah,
College
colleges.
venue is why this
Exactly.
is happening.
Economy's
yeah,
not
it's-
fucked.
it's
Economy's
tough to
stronger than
rent.
ever.
It's
Stronger
tough
than
to
ever.
rent a good tournament venue. I get it. And so
Thank
the
you, Joe.
fact that Don't Park on the Grass is like actually in a promising location, I think for people like me, that kind of thing matters.
That's right. We're building back
yeah,
better.
super
Let's move on to
agree.
our next topic. Wavelength is the event to watch this weekend out in Westford, Massachusetts. Speaking of hour drives, featuring 663 attendees,
what I'm saying?
330 for Melee. We're going to see Zain, Hungrybox, Mango, Aklo, Jmook, Moki, Joshman, Asphalt, Bbatts,
Jesus.
Spark, Faust, Bonfire 10, Dreffin, and
Oh.
more. Is this an easy Zain W? Who will over or underperform? Classic Fourside upcoming event fight. Go.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Zane's got it. I think Jmook's
big
like
dog is
literally his
back.
only. Yeah, Jmook's literally our only hope. And I think if Zain wins this, like I would personally say that he's already a very heavy favorite for number one based on like head-to-heads and major wins. But if he wins this one, it's like it
It's
goes
curtains.
from like
It's curtains.
90% to just like Jover.
Yeah, I don't even see how. I like it's literally Jmook has to do it in 2 sets. Jmook hasn't been doing that great against Zain lately. I think he's the best against him. Now, I mean, we haven't had like a really, really good, like Cody kind of got ran over at Riptide, right? So like if you're just assuming that's gonna happen, like to be fair, Cody will get run over and like randomly have a tournament where he's just playing out of his mind. That could always happen. I
Mhm.
think it's hard to like.
He's
It's
not
hard-
here though.
It's hard to
unfortunately.
say, like, it's hard because, like, I feel like you can make these predictions and it goes one way, and then, you know, Mango or Cody can have an insane tournament. Mango played like utter dog shit in the first set. It's like pretty clearly he was playing really,
with a
really
bad controller. With a bad
Apparently
controller.
with a
Listen.
bad controller. But
Bad
I mean,
controller.
I would bet on Zain. I would bet on Zain with 1-to-1 odds over the field.
Yeah,
Like,
I would take Zayn over the field. I
Here's-
think
I would take Zayn
it's
over the
like
field.
really, really ugly. By the
Here's
numbers.
my
who knows?
pitch.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Here's my pitch to New England Melee. And I know they're all into, you know, crazy ideas and whatnot. We've seen what they can do. Let Infinite Numbers wobble one last time and give him a shot at the big dog. You know, let's just
Yeah.
see what happens.
Unfortunately, he's a Falco player now, so
I know.
he-
You
Let
know
him
it's
pick up the old hammers.
You give him one last mission.
Just
you know,
when he
the
thinks he's out.
and
The
Zayn.
hammers are in the other
Pull him
room
back in,
screaming
yeah.
at him.
No,
Like the
I just
Green
wanna-
Goblin mask.
Yeah, no, I just want to say though, because like I'm looking at it, and yeah, no, Zayn's number one right now, but Cody has won 3 majors, including Genesis this year. I think because Zayn's victories have been so dominant as of late, like he's won just an absurd amount of tournaments post Genesis. And Cody losing twice to Mango, I don't think helps his case at all. But if Cody wins Wavelength, or if
He's
wait,
not
Cody
at
not-
Wavelength.
it's not going- wait, sorry, if Cody
Yeah.
wins one of Don't Park later on this year, he's the only person with 2
Cody's
super
not out
major
of it.
wins.
I also think this is looking a lot like the full Bloom lineup. And like Jmook was perfectly competent versus Zayn at full Bloom. That could have gone either way. They were close sets. And in
I think
fact,
this-
Jmook won one.
I think the scary thing for Jmook is that a lot of the progress he's made this year have come in previous like problem matchups. Like he's made really good progress against HBox and AMSA in particular, But the other group of players that he used to beat a lot, like the top 25 players, like the Fox players in particular, have gotten really difficult. So like for Jmook to even get to Zain, he'll probably have to play someone like Aklo, who in the past, that not Aklo specifically, but like that type of player we might have seen Jmook against, and we might have seen him as like a favorable draw. But now we see Jmook against someone like Aklo or Joshman, and that's more of like a toss-up, like those two in particular, but like kind of that range of player. He's very I would say he's cumulatively favored against like most top 25 players, but it's not like a lock. It's not like Zain like if you imagine Zain going against
Dude, does Bonfire 10 make top 8?
Top 4.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I've talked to Tori. I know Tori. Tori with the goddamn One Piece tattoo is gonna cook all of these bitches. There's literally no shot.
keep the foxes out of her path. And
Tori over the field 1-1 for top 4.
I think the real question is, can Dreffen make top 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, who wins Dreffen?
So that's okay.
who wins Dreffen? Well, here's the thing. I think Dreffen and Bonfire are playing for top 8. Who wins that? Dreffen's really good at cheek dittos.
I think
Dreffen's
Have they played?
Okay.
Edwin. This is an Edwin question. Have they played?
Oh God, I don't know. I would have to look it up.
I'm
not a nerd.
I think Dreffen has that.
I think
you old heads have no faith in the new school.
I will say,
I'm kind of an old head.
Of the New England,
is Bonfire new school at this point?
Yeah,
of the New England people attending this event, I think there's two really sleeper players that I think would do really well. The first one's Ember, who I think she's basically like, she's one of the few players in New England that's actually up on Bonfire in the latest power ranking season. She's a Sheik and Fox player, and she's really good. And the other player I would want to look out for is Blocking My Toyota, because one, he's got a sick tag, and the second thing is his Game & Watch is absolutely nasty. He got like 33rd or something at SmashCon, and I've been trying to and I like messaged him over the summer. I was like, hey, this is what I think top 100 eligibility will be. And, it's not a guarantee, but you could be the first Game & Watch main on top 100. So I know he really
so you're the one that puts ranked anxiety in the hearts of players.
Yeah, and then
I just want him to be eligible.
While we're dying young.
You just want him to be abreast of the news.
Yeah.
Hey.
I think it's rankings are scary. That's why I'm retiring. I'm done. I'm DQing at a wavelength. They're not gonna.
Yeah, there are many cowards like you. Let's move on to our tiebreaker. All right. You shouldn't retire. I told you can't retire until you make top 8. That's how you be the best commentator. If you make top 8 one, you could commentate anything in the world because you made top 8 at the major.
Next time I'm commentating.
Which one?
Oh no, he did make top 8 at Riptide 2020
last year.
It was last year.
You gotta do it again. One more time. All right. Here, let's get to our tiebreaker. We've talked a lot today about being abreast of. What is the most important news story that I don't already know about that you want to bring attention to? That is our tiebreaker.
Specifically, the melee.
I don't already know about that you want to bring attention to.
Are you talking about in the melee community specifically, or do you mean
in life, man? I'm trying. Whatever. This is dealer's choice. It could be melee because I might not have heard of it.
I'm gonna take a gamble here, Jack.
Right. Well, you're not going first. It's Bbatts going first.
Okay. Just telling you.
Let's run it. All right. My key thing that I want to mention is Lena Khan of the FTC. She is a very powerful woman. She is the head of the Federal Trade Commission, and she is blocking big mergers across massive corporations that are attempting to consolidate and hurt your average consumer. Now, she is going to be receiving a lot of flack and a lot of hatred from big companies and big donors and PR firms because they would like her removed because she doesn't like big business. But you, the average smasher, should know that those people who big companies hate, who work in regulatory firms, they're the good guys. We should root for those people. So support her. And if she's going to get fired by a president, boo that and keep people in office who will keep her there.
All right. That's not okay. I mean, I did hear some offstage excitement, some off-screen, woos, and that is cool.
I want to spread a message. I'm using
It
my
wasn't
platform.
really a news thing, though. You were just
Fuck
saying
the
you like
news!
Lena
I care
Khan.
about spreading a platform. I'm using this to share a message that's important to the average voter.
I see.
during
I
election
understand.
time.
That is a fair interpretation of the tiebreaker. I will not hold that against you, Edwin.
Yeah, so recently, so this is I'm pretty sure you wouldn't know this news, but it is very big. So India won the T20 Cricket World Cup, right? So there's basically three main ways of playing cricket. The first one is basically like a baseball game. It's in 20 overs, which is like 3 hours or so. Then there's the 50 over one, which is a whole day, and then there's test matches, which is like over the course of like a whole week. Right? To go into the nuances of each is a bit of a long story, but lo and behold, India is like actually number one in each of these territories. They've basically been like totally killing it after blowing like the one day international World Cup. They've done really well there. They've done really well in like
that one.
What's up?
Who did they lose to at the one day?
They lost to England.
Okay,
I think, and then
It's coming home, baby.
So then, but they've lately been killing it in test matches, which is like the week-long format, which they were kind of bad in for a while. And it's been really cool to see because a ton of like older players are kind of like getting washed or just outright retiring, but a ton of the younger people are coming through. So it's basically like 24 years of this team, basically this international organization just constantly churning like the best batters in the world. So that's been pretty cool to see.
Okay. Mikey the Cheat.
Okay. I've got a bit of a 1-2 punch for you here, Jack. Have you heard of Mu Dang?
I've seen the meme appear and be manipulated. I don't understand where it's from.
Mu Dang is a baby hippo in a zoo in Thailand, a baby pygmy hippo.
How did you get this image on my screen?
And Mu Dang is very cute. And have you also heard, Jack, of Pesto?
Pesto? Pesto pasta?
So while Mu Dang is a very small pygmy baby hippo, Pesto, on the other hand, is a giant baby penguin. You can see this penguin still has its baby down, and it's dwarfing his mom there. This baby penguin from Australia. And these two animals have had TikTok absolutely wrapped this past month. And I wanted to put you on to them.
I have no idea how you achieve prop work in a Fourside. Only Toph has ever done that before, and I guess Bbatts when he brought out the chain.
Yeah,
Toph.
that was very impressive. So
I chucked that bitch across the room. By the way, I saw that.
I guess there's two things. It sort of depends what you want by news. There are two things that I wanted to bring up. I guess one is kind of a more general sort of world financial news. So I think there's been kind of a sense of like, I don't want to say dread, but let's just say dread in the Melee community the past year or two, because frankly, for a long time, I think it was Slime that said it, ultimately esports' job is to get money out of Coca-Cola and Colgate and into gamers' hands.
No Doritos.
Interest rates are coming down. Even like tech job postings are way up these days, which is always a good sign because most tech jobs are bullshit. And if tech job postings are up, I don't know. I think that maybe there's some hope for some more. I don't know. I'm hoping we can get some bones thrown our way in the Melee community. The thing I'm personally most excited about news in my life that I thought I'd clue all of you in on, Edwin, I guess kind of inspired this, is I'm going to go watch the Chess World Championship in Singapore next month in November.
Fun.
And I think, for those of you who are kind of on the outskirts of the game, maybe you know about chess or you play it online, but you don't know too much about the specifics here. So Magnus is too good. He retired from the World Championship cycle. He's not playing in it anymore. He's like, you guys can't touch me. This is not even fun for me anymore. So it's going to be between Ding Liren and Gukesh. Ding's from China, Gukesh is from India. And I think it's a really, really cool narrative because Ding's whole thing is he basically got the title of world champion. And as soon as he got it, he's been ass. He's been getting bodied left, right, and center. He's literally he's like barely top 30 right now. He's world champion and he's like barely top 30.
It's like H-Box and Slippy.
Dude, I mean, it's literally
mouse ass ring.
And he's fucking, dude, and like every day there's more fuel being thrown on the fire, bro. Like, okay, there was the Chess Olympiad that just happened, which is the biggest team event. They do that once a year. China and India were set to play, and like India was in the lead. India won the event, by the way, and China had the opportunity to dethrone them. And Ding woke up that morning, and he was supposed to play versus Ding, like Ding and Gukesh were supposed to play, and Ding pussied out. He chickened out. He was like, I don't want to play. I'm like, I'm saving it for when we play our championship match, but like someone else has to go in. I want to rotate with one of you guys. Sit me out for this one. So he's scared, and he drew like all his games. In the meantime, Gukesh had the tournament of his life. He beat fucking everybody. I think he might have gotten personal gold for the event. So you've got this kid who's like 18. That's Gukesh. He has a book. I watched this YouTube video of his room tour, and he's got a shelf full of books. And you're like, okay, those are probably chess books. And it zooms in on the bookshelf. They're not chess books. He's got the autobiography of fucking Mike Tyson, of I don't know the guy's name, but he's the GOAT of cricket. Roger Federer.
Probably Don
He's
Bradman.
got the autobiography of anyone who's ever been the GOAT of anything. His whole bookshelf is autobiographies of GOATs of various different disciplines. And he's like, yeah, I just want to put myself in that mindset because
Ludwig doing that in like 2018.
Right. So you've got the young hotshot, and everyone's saying Gukesh is going to sweep this shit. I think, everyone's saying Ding is washed. Dude, I think he's. By the way, Ding, I just looked up. He's 21st in the world right now.
Toph, I feel abreast of the news.
So there's a very exciting narrative because I think one of two things is going to happen. I think Gukesh is going to fucking body him, which is what everyone's predicting, or I think Ding pulls it all out of him, digs super deep, and like makes the fucking comeback like for one last performance. So awesome narrative considering that the best player in the world isn't even playing.
It is a beautiful picture you painted, but I gave you the time solely because I already knew Mikey had won. Everybody go watch cricket, go watch chess, but the winner of today's Fourside Fights is indeed the cheat Mikey. I can't help it. He's one of these assholes that just knows how to win. What can I say? Well played by the rest of you. Let's go on to Fourside, get the melee on, and get out of here.
I got 6 rings like Mike, baby.
All right.
Hey, for the real Fourside heads, I want to show you this shirt that I'm wearing. My wife made it for me. It says, if there's a line between right and wrong, I snorted it a long time ago. My favorite Wednesday shirt for the real heads out there.
For the real heads.
Okay,
how many people do you think
insane?
How many people who post the Wednesday emoji do you think actually heard the original song?
Probably not many,
That's so sad.
I think they just think it's a fun little tradition for the Discord, which it is.
I think you should post the song in the Discord and we pin it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think it's a good mission, Destigmatize it. Like, the drug war's not working. So.
Yeah, that has been the discourse on Twitter this week, hasn't it? Should we stigmatize drugs? And I think it's okay to stigmatize things a little bit. I think it's good that we made smoking cigarettes not cool. I don't think we need to shame people necessarily.
What's the problem?
But I told Lily smoked when we met, and I told her it's okay if you smoke, but it'll make me sad because I want to be with you a long time and for you to be healthy.
I'm shit.
Jesus.
They gotta kill me.
That was probably Z-axis too,
I got a fan of
my points away,
too.
Jack. You gotta take it out of the game.
What?
I was saying that Billy missed that rest because of
Z-axis moment.
Probably, yeah.
Oh.
And again, wow! Look at all this bullshit.
I figured you wanted to start it.
Yeah. No, I just hesitated.
Negative Riz.
Well, this is one of the tightest Fourside fights that I've seen in some time.
Yeah. It was tight on the sticks and off.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Basically, 3-way tie going into the tiebreaker.
I was winning before you brought up the PNGs. I swear to God. I really liked Edwin's answer. I thought it was very sweet.
Yeah. I need to do sports show now that I have a computer also, and that it's almost basketball season.
Yep. It's almost Baldur's Gate season.
It is almost Baldur's Gate season.
Yo! Okay, last stock, low percent. Can we get the pop?
Oh
No,
my
no!
god! Oh my god! What the fuck was that?
Wait, what even saved?
Crazy things are happening. It was the aliens.
The Z-axis aliens. There's a species that can only survive. in the
No!
Z-axis.
Oh!
Wow.
What does Toph have here? Not much.
I don't know how much you get.
Yeah. It's tough.
I'm trying to
Better
love
player,
speak.
be better player, be better
Has
player.
this happened to anybody else as you get older?
Oh!
Oh, I couldn't tech the wall there?
That was
Oh.
nasty.
I can't believe it didn't let me tech. That's crazy. All right, GG's.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Holy shit. Okay, GG's. The winner of Fourside Fights, Mikey the Cheat, the winner of the fight on Fourside, Bbatts with an explosive finish. Thank you all for being here on this extra long episode filled with content. We've had a month of news to cover, and we covered it. Please support us on Patreon so we keep making cool stuff. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in the works. Bye. See ya.